Good morning, teachers, and welcome again to our annual virtual workshop. Of course, this is a medium that we'll be using to engage with you each year as we take you through the various syllabi for our subject areas. Now, we do nothing without praying. It's customary. We invite the Lord in everything that we do. May we just bow our heads just for 2 minutes as we invite the Lord's presence. Most righteous and eternal God, we thank you again for sparing our lives, for taking us here to another workshop. Though virtual, you are here in spirit and we welcome you. We ask, O Lord, that you touch our hearts and minds, that whatsoever the presenter has to say today, that we will grasp it and it will better enable us as teachers, as education practitioners, as an exam body to meet the needs, the learning needs of our students. We ask that you cover our students in schools, Lord. You see so many things that are happening in the classrooms. Lord, you see the strain, the stress, the pressure of our teachers. You see the challenges that our children are facing. But we ask for your grace as we are in this to make Jamaica, and by extension the world, a better place, one student at a time. So Lord, we thank you and we bless your holy name, and we invite you now to participate with us today in this workshop. Amen. Let us now hear from Mrs. Marva Duncanson, Caribbean representative for City and Guilds.
Good morning, everyone. A very good morning to you. I send warm greetings to everyone tuned into this broadcast. We are so pleased to welcome you to our annual series of tutorial workshops in math and English skills and the Skills Proficiency Awards. We continue to thank the Ministry of Education and Youth, the Heart Trust NSTA, and all our stakeholders, our dedicated principals, the loyal and committed teachers, and of course the parents who believe in City and Guilds and allow us the opportunity of certification to the young people of Jamaica. We appreciate so much the support and cooperation offered by the Minister of Education and her team of dedicated senior officers, the Permanent Secretary, the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Kassan Troop, and her deputies, the regional directors, and the teams of education officers and coaches across the length and breadth of Jamaica. The City and Guilds Caribbean office here in Jamaica and the teams in London are fully committed to supporting our students so that they can achieve their full potential. And in this regard, we try to consistently provide the highest level of customer service to enable our teachers to deliver effectively so that our learners can achieve, pass their exams, and obtain certification. I think you all know our tagline. Our tagline says it all. Believe you can. Believe you can. We want our students to achieve. We're committed to producing successful persons who will take their place in society here in Jamaica and in the wider global scene. Now, friends, the last 2 years of hardship, 2 years of hardship, have shown us that our teachers are remarkably committed, talented, resourceful, imaginative, and courageous. You have navigated through unimaginable days of COVID and the resulting disruption to teaching. Who would have thought in 2020 that we would have been looking at 2 years of this unbelievable disruption to our lives? And many of us have lost dear ones in the process. You managed to normalize what has been an abnormal set of circumstances. You know, I'm constantly reminded that the 2022 cohort of grade 11 students were only in grade 9 when the pandemic was announced in March 2020. Yet, notwithstanding the disruption, an overall of 64% of them were able to achieve their certification goals for City and Guilds. I think that's quite remarkable. I think it's absolutely well done. They are to be commended. I believe we all should be so proud the teachers and students. You pulled it together somehow. So, sometimes when we're in a situation, we are so overwhelmed that we can't see the big picture. But against all the odds, our educational system has stood the test, and we thank God. City and Guilds feels privileged to offer qualifications in math and English for high school students who need an option to the regional CSEC or who simply wish to have globally recognized complementary qualifications. To date, we have issued almost 170,000 certificates in math and English here in Jamaica, and these are young people who have been able to progress with their lives. Our math and English qualifications at Stage 3 are now accepted for recruitment to the Jamaica Defence Force, the Constabulary Force, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Services, and we also enjoy a MOU with the Jamaica Employers Federation. Further, we have endorsements from 72 local universities, including the University of the West Indies, the Michael University College, and the University of Technology of Jamaica, who will accept our qualifications at Stage 3 in Math and English for certain programs of undergraduate study. We here have some 300 schools under our stewardship, and we take this responsibility very seriously. The matter of terminal exams and the results are critical in terms of helping to shape the lives of our young people. Many of the 6,000 plus high school students who achieved our customer service qualification have been able to move on to successful careers, many in the global services sector. City and Guilds is so proud of them. We have learners here and all over the world. Our 5,000 plus certified holders of our Skills Proficiency Awards have also been able to advance their studies across the occupational pathways, or they've moved on to employment opportunities here and abroad. And we're pushing ahead. We're pushing ahead with our high order engineering program and are pleased to report that there are some Jamaican students who have been able to achieve the prestigious Level 3 Advanced Diploma. These young people are on track to receive their EngTech, Engineering Technician status, post-nominal letters that will enable them to work just about anywhere in the world. So I'm going to take a few minutes now and just go through a PowerPoint. Some of you will know about City and Guilds, but there are, I think, perhaps persons in our audience today who don't know much about City and Guilds, and I'm happy to share. So who and what are City and Guilds? We're really a group of companies. The City and Guilds Group is a leader in global skills development. We work with education providers, employers, and governments in over 100 countries across the world to help people, businesses, and economies grow by shaping skills systems and supporting skills development. The group is made up of City and Guilds, that's the exam body, the Institute of Leadership and Management, ILM, KINEO, the Oxford Group, Digital Me, and Gen 2. Each of our businesses has its own distinct focus. As a group, we aim to provide comprehensive assessment, training, and learning to offer people opportunities all across the world. Together, we set the standard for professional and technical education and corporate learning and development across the globe. This is our motto. The City and Guilds of London Institute is committed to developing the skills of people and organizations to secure their personal and economic growth and prosperity. See the lion? That's us. We offer competence-based exams. And what is competence? It's the ability to perform a task or job successfully by using a combination of knowledge, skills, and attitude, which is measured across a standard. This ability can be acquired through experience and or training and demonstrated by qualifications. These are what I consider to be City and Guilds' 5 key strengths, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that we offer portability or qualifications provide learners with portability. They can move across borders and work. The fact that we have this progression approach to certification, so you can start and achieve in stages. The fact that our qualifications are recognized, recognition, very important, that wherever in the world you should go, a City and Guilds certificate is recognizable. And of course, we are heavily aimed towards employment. So employability is a key. And aspirations. Need I say more? It is so important that we help our young people to fulfill their aspirations. So we've been operating here in the region now I've been with City and Guilds for almost 20 years, and we've been operating across the region. In November 2019, we signed a third contract with the Ministry of Education and Youth. This one is a 10-year contract for the delivery of our qualifications in math and English skills, the Skills Proficiency Awards, customer service, and engineering. We've also engaged with the Ministries of Education in Barbados, Bermuda, the British Virgin Islands, Bahamas, and the Cayman Islands, where we've been registering students for math and English exams. Now, as you probably know, we award digital badges to successful candidates for math, English, the Skills Proficiency, and customer service. We've also been engaged by HEART for the delivery of our qualifications in math and English skills to all their students enrolled across HEART academies. And they've further engaged us for the delivery of digital badges for specific programs of study offered by the NTA. We've been engaged by the Ministry as well for the delivery of planned National School Leaving Certificates, the NSLC, which is going to be launched in this school year. And of course, we are engaged by 7 private training providers, major ones here in Jamaica, the Bahamas, Cayman Islands, and Trinidad, for accrediting or assuring programs of study. I want you to just have a quick look at this. Here's a big picture. Over a 12-year period, City and Guilds has awarded 169,000 certificates to Jamaican students. And I'm going to spend just a minute or so on the 2022 results. So the overall percentage pass rate for math from the June 2022 exams is 64%. For English skills, 78%. And the overall, that is a national average, is 69%, which is quite remarkable considering. I want to point out too that there was a first this year in 2022 where many traditional high schools, in fact 34 of the 42 traditional high schools, registered 6,000 candidates in total for our math skills at stage 3. Now you're all aware that the CSEC national performance rate was 37%. So the Ministry of Education gave the opportunity to these traditional high school students for subsidy for both CSEC and City and Guilds. I'm pleased to report that the percentage pass rate, specifically amongst that cohort, the traditional high schools, was 85%. Well done. We enjoy recognition from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Jamaica Defence Force, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Services, the Jamaica Employees Federation, the University Council of Jamaica, and the HEART NSDA Trust. And of course, I shared with you earlier that we enjoy recognition from 22 local universities. I'm not going to read through all of them. They include the University of the West Indies. And our Skills Proficiency Awards are available across 12 occupational areas. I'll just read them out for you. Carpentry, electrical installation, fabrication, welding and pipe works, food and beverage, food preparation, housekeeping, IT for office application, masonry, motorcycle repair, motor vehicle engineering, painting and decoration, plumbing. And as our Prime Minister spoke recently about the shortage of skilled labor, I want to point out that many of our young people are pursuing 6 of the 12 pathways that are available in construction. Here is a performance analysis over 4 years from 2019, 20, 21, and 22. So you see the number of centers participating has been growing in the first row. The registration numbers have been moving up, and I'm pleased to report that the percentage certification rate for 2022 is 56%. There are 1,894 persons who is still pending their results. Let's have a look at the customer service. I told you 6,000 Jamaican youth have been certified over the last 4 years, and our customer service qualification sits on the UK qualification framework. It enjoys the same standing as would a GCSE subject. So it's really a much regarded qualification that can be used for employment anywhere in the world. So I'm pleased to report this to you. Now our engineering, we continue to push and push with the engineering. It's currently being offered at 5 schools. So there's York Castle High School, Jamaica College, Excelsior High School, Brownstown Community College, and the Institute of International Recognized Qualification, that's IIRQ. This is a very high-level qualification. The curriculum is delivered over a 2-year period, and the assessment is across 9 exams in all, written and practical. We're looking at high-order math, physics, science. So typically this program of study is most suited to students who are academically gifted. It's the level 3 that leads to the designation of engineering technician, EngTech, which facilitates post-nominal letters. And this is being offered on the new 6th form pathway program for the upcoming academic year. Of course, we've been offering digital badging. All successful candidates for math and English, customer service, and the skills proficiency, they will receive their paper certificates, but significantly, they'll also receive digital badges next year, as indeed they did this year. So have a look at what the digital badge looks like. There's an image on this slide, a level 1 award in customer service. You would click on it, you'd be able to see the candidate's name. You could click again and there would be metadata telling you about the course itself. Teachers, I am stressing that it's important that students have a professional email address. Here's an example, joe.brown@gmail.com. Many of them have either inappropriate email addresses, personal, or they're using the ministry's email address. And I'm advised that that has a very short lifespan. So I'm encouraging you to have your students, if they want to receive a digital badge when they achieve success, to have a registered, regular, professional email address. So we have a dynamic workshop planned for you. I know you're going to enjoy today's activities and learn quite a bit. For those of you who registered, City on Deals will be awarding you with a digital badge indicating your continued professional development, and it just may come in useful at some point. My team and I are committed to our organizational values of innovation, trust, engagement, and integrity. And we will continue to support the Ministry of Education and Youth, the HEART, NSTA, and all our stakeholders to achieve the national objectives of Jamaica. We consider it a privilege, and we're happy for the opportunity to serve the government of Jamaica and our young people. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Duncanson, for that comprehensive report. We'll now hear from our Chief Education Officer, Dr. Kassan Troop.
Good morning. Special morning, of course, to the leadership of City and Guilds Jamaica, Mrs. Marva Duncanson, and our team members who continue to serve this country. Special morning to our teachers. Yes, you. It's really a pleasure to have you in the midst this morning. You are our nation builders. You are our social entrepreneurs. You are our heroes without capes. And we have just celebrated World Teachers Day. What can we really do without you? You know, the research has shown that the system cannot exceed the quality of its teachers. And the pandemic has revealed how important you are in the scheme of things. We are back in the face-to-face learning environment, and you see the struggle of the school. You see the struggles of the classroom. You see what's happening with our boys and girls. That is evidence that they miss you. That is evidence that because of those 2 years, we have been set back, but I know with you, we can champion the cause of education. We can redeem this nation because you believe in what you do each day. You go to work with the passion and love for our boys and girls. And irrespective of the circumstances, I know the pay is not necessarily rewarding, but I know you continue to dig deep. You continue to give of yourself, and you continue to serve this country. Teachers, ladies and gentlemen, our heroes without capes, I thank you. I thank you for what you have done throughout this period of a difficult experience globally. I thank you for staying in Jamaica. Many of our colleagues are gone, and that is okay. People will always seek for better. But you remained and you are here. And I want to recognize you for that. I want to validate you for that. And I want to celebrate you and to let you know that the Ministry of Education and Youth is forever grateful for what you continue to do every day. You unearth talents. You help students to feel confident. You help them to believe in themselves. And I'm certain that when you see them out there and you see the excellence that they're reaping, you continue to share in that joy. I say this because I can relate to it. I've been a teacher for 9 years before I moved into administration and into the policy division here in the Ministry of Education. And I know when I see my students out there, the joy that comes to me. In fact, just this morning, I had an experience with one of my students. I went to a health center to get a vaccine because I will go on duty travel very soon. And it is my student who recognized me in mask and said, "Miss," and called my name and escorted me and helped me. And today I've been back here to bring greetings and to just recognize you for what you continue to do. That's what we do. And that's how our students make us feel. I felt very special. And I'm happy that I could have contributed to that child being the person she is today. So teachers, I know sometimes it's tough. I know sometimes you feel daunted. But I want to encourage you today. Do not give up on Jamaica. Do not give up on our boys and girls. And I know you are not giving up. That is why you have made yourselves available to be a part of this annual tutorial workshop for our teachers. Because you believe in growth. You believe in honing your own skills and building your capacity to deliver your craft. So this year again, we launch our annual assessment program for our external exams, not just for CXC, but also for City and Guilds. And each year, City and Guilds sees it fit to discuss with you the performance data of our students, something, of course, that we are proud of. You know, every year our students continue to excel at the City and Guilds exam, be it math, be it English language, be it customer service, or even the Skills Proficiency Awards. Every single year, we send up in excess of 50,000 entries, and we have our students over 60%, sometimes close to 70%, excelling at these exams. Colleagues, they can only do this because of you. And we want to validate you and recognize what you continue to do so we can reap the success that our students demonstrate in the exam. So again, we are embarking on a new sitting. And in preparing you to do your best and to help the students to do their best, this workshop is designed to expose you further to the content and to the administrative responsibilities, and most importantly, to spend some time to look at the gaps You know, they will be looking at the results and to look at those areas that we saw particular weaknesses in. We're going to bring that to the forefront. We're going to dissect that. We're going to dig deep and we're going to examine that. And then we're going to look at how can we make sure that we don't have a repeat of that. That's what today's tutorial is all about. So colleagues, I want you to embrace this opportunity of learning. I want you to continue to appropriate whatever it is that you will leave from this workshop with to your own growth and development, to your own self of empowerment. And of course, we will see that in the results. We'll see that in how your schools continue to perform and improve. You know, education is that weapon that will change the lives and to break the cycle of poverty. Education is a weapon for development. And this is a gift that you continue to contribute to. As we, the Ministry of Education, put the resources in place, and I can say it will never be enough. Globally, it's the same cry. But, you know, one hand can't clap. You will do your part. We will do our part. And we pray that the parents will continue to do their part because the demands are many. It will take a tripartite approach for us to transform this country. But we continue to do it bit by bit. So City and Guilds will continue to build the capacity of our teachers to deliver. They will continue to provide affordable programs for our students. They continue to even expose us here at the Central Ministry to other programs like the entrepreneurship program that they are carrying out that we're about to look at. They're also doing the engineering program with us. That has not been doing well, but we are going to refocus as a ministry to make sure that we are creating engineers for Jamaica. We are no longer just users of research. We want to be innovators and creators and developers and manufacturers. That's what it's going to take to transform our social and economic reality. That's what the thrust is. Quality education for all, inclusion, equity, equal opportunity, and that is what it's going to take to build Jamaica and to make it a place for us to live, for us to raise our families, for us to work and do business. That's the partnership you're in, colleagues. Let me again welcome you to this opportunity of empowerment, and let me thank you for all that you will continue to do post this experience and as you interact with your boys and girls in our own schools. God bless you and thank you. And again, keep giving your best. We are relying on you. Thank you.
Let us now hear a message of endorsement from a few of our principals.
Good day, everyone. I am Aniona Jones, principal of the Marcus Garvey Technical High School located in St. Anne, Jamaica. We are the only technical high school in St. Anne, and we are committed to having all of our students certified in their various skill areas. Given the fact that our students come to us with a range of abilities, from highly proficient to functioning as many as 6 grade levels below where they need to be when they enter in grade 7, our institution has had to search high and low to find alternative forms of certification for our students. We are very pleased with the support that we have been getting from the City and Guilds team here in Jamaica in ensuring that our students are certified, whether at entry-level skills proficiency or they are certified in the post-secondary units. The City and Guilds exams are internationally recognized, and our students have been able to travel the globe with their City and Guilds certification. We are very pleased with the fact that our students get an opportunity to be certified from as early as grade 9 or 10 or 11, and that they are able to matriculate into our local NCT VET examinations. We recommend the City and Guilds program for all learners, whether you are highly proficient and you want to pursue certificate or diploma certification, or you are a struggling reader and you need a bit more scaffolding. The City and Guilds exams, internationally recognized, very easy to follow curriculum, local assistance in getting your program started, as well as recognition for what the children are able to do. We have found it very easy to transition into all of these areas, and we recommend that you try the City and Guilds certification exams.
Jamaican students in general, and I think Jamaica as a whole, did not ascribe much credibility to City and Guilds in its initial stage. But I think over the last decade or so, we have seen where the confidence and the belief and acceptance in City and Guilds would have grown, and persons now understand that they can benefit from this, not only locally, but more so internationally. At the noon, we have carefully packaged the benefits of City and Guilds. And we have observed an increase in the interest and registration of students, especially in math and English and customer service, as well as the skilled areas. Now, many students have benefited in gaining acceptance to pursue tertiary studies, to gain employment, and some even to take it overseas. And that is one of the push here at the moment, that some of the students, they intend to travel or work abroad. And so they want to do City and Guilds. We have seen where their confidence and the morale have both improved and increased over the few years. Now, there was a student, and I must share this story. There was a student who did a number of CXC subjects and won City and Guilds. When the results came, he failed the C6 subject and passed City and Guilds. To our dismay, he was quite delighted and happy that he passed, because, as he said, it was the first time in his immediate family that one person passed an external exam. What it does, it inspires and motivates and instills confidence and that I can do it attitude. Now, here's what the head of language department shared with me. She said, from my perspective, City and Guilds have provided more manageable options to students, and I have seen where their oral presentation skills have developed, especially those doing stage 3. We have seen where the students who have to do individual presentation have grown in confidence. She went on further to say that the students have gained confidence and recognized the journalism and public speaking skills. So previously, any such formal presentation, whether for their class or for their clubs and society, they would have shied away because they lacked confidence. But after receiving guidance and the opportunity to practice, they have blossomed. City and Guilds, therefore, to the noon, is not only an alternative in case you feel seasick. It is a viable, portable, and marketable option that helps students on the pathway to success. So, give it a try. What do you?
It is now time to hear from our lead external quality assurer for the Caribbean region, Mr. Kenneth Samlal.
Hi everyone, I am Kenny Samlal, City and Guilds Regional Lead External Verifier. Today's briefing will be on quality assurance. So I'm here to zero in on the critical elements of City and Guilds quality assurance. So let us look at the content. As far as the content is concerned, we're going to look at who we are and what we do. Very important, a general definition for quality assurance. We would look at the City and Guilds quality assurance model, an overview of the center quality structure, the roles of key personnel, and very important, assessment. Now, if we look at what we do and what centers do, on your left-hand side, we are looking at City and Guilds. And on the right-hand side, it's the center. City and Guilds will develop the qualifications based on industry requirements and regulations. They will monitor center performance to make sure that the validity of assessment and certification. They will set assessment standards, and eventually they are the body that will be awarding certificates to competent learners. On the right-hand side, as far as the center is concerned, the center will have to deliver, assess, and to internally quality assured the qualifications to the registered learners. In addition to that, the centers will have to conduct standardization of the assessment practice. They will have to keep the staff up to date with continuous professional development, acronym CPD, and of course, to adhere to all City and Guilds requirements. In general terms, quality assurance is a system of monitoring and checking the quality of a product or service to ensure that it consistently meets the specified standards. I would like to emphasize the word consistently. Now, in order to achieve this intent, we got to have an organization chart and we need to have an arrangement. What do I mean by that? Is that we must have a system having knowledgeable people, a strategy, a plans, procedures, reporting, checks and balances to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Requirements are met and any issues are identified and remedied quickly so that the learners have a positive experience and achieve their goal. Now, when we look at the quality assurance model in a typical structure, at the very top, you have the head of the center, which is normally the principal or vice principal. That person in City and Guilds model is referred to as the assessment manager. Below the assessment manager, we need to have a quality assurance contact. That person should be trained in quality assurance. And below that person, we're going to have the delivery of the qualification, which is done by the assessor. And also, in order to monitor the assessor, we need to have an internal quality assurer. In this sketch, it is shown as the internal verifier. In large centers, that person is called an internal quality coordinator. However, in smaller centers, that person is referred to as the internal verifier. Today, it is referred to as the IQA, internal quality assurer, and that person is to watch the back of the assessor. And then we will have, regarding the examination, we need to have a center administrator, and of course, we should have invigilators to supervise the exam. And of course, in a general center, we must have center administrator, general administration to look after the daily operation of the center. And of course, we will have learners. Without the learners, we will not exist. I would also like to emphasize at this point, we would have City and Guilds external quality assurance. These are the persons who would be external eyes who will come in from time to time to monitor the operation of the delivery. So when they do come in, they will be looking at a lot of recording instruments, which we will zero in as we move forward in today's session. Quality assurance with City and Guilds operate as a risk-based approach. That is to say that we need to watch the risk areas. One, we will have to look at the integrity of our qualifications. We will have to satisfy the public and the employer and the industry in our products. We have to make sure that we have regulatory control. We have to make sure that we are consistent of the content. And most of all, we must be fair in our assessment. And in order for us to achieve those 5 bullet points, we must have subject matter expert consultants, external quality assurers contracted by City and Guilds, who will actually visit centers, conduct verification, and report back to City and Guilds on the center performance. So when we speak about risk management, we are talking about one, center risk, Centers may have high staff turnover, poor center performance, and malpractice allegations. If that do happen, we got to monitor it. We have to look at complaints and regulatory issues. And the other risk area would be qualification risk. We have to ensure that the assessors and the IQAs are qualified and competent to do their tasks. So the level of monitoring is determined by the center and qualification risk. So our external verifiers would be the subject matter experts who from time to time will be visiting the centers to pick up whether there is a center or qualification risk and deal with it immediately. Now, if we want to look at a level of delivery and quality assurance, and we consider it as an onion, and if we look at the inner side of the onion, we would have the quality of the qualification, the learning program, whether it's carpentry or electrical, and the outer layer will be the assessment, and the next layer would be internal quality assurance, and the last outer layer will be external quality assurance. As far as the inner layer is concerned, that is where we would have the assessor, the trainer, and then above the trainer, we will have the internal quality assurer, and then externally, the fresh pair of eyes would be the City and Guilds contracted verifiers who would be watching on the operation of the delivery process. Who and what? On the left-hand side, we have the names of the persons, and on the right-hand side, what they do. So as mentioned before, in an org structure, the assessment manager, who is normally the principal, the purpose of that person is to have full oversight on the operations of the center. We'll have to review, we'll have to discuss, we'll have to provide feedback, we'll have to provide a copy of the visit report, and most of all, that person will have to share good practice and to make sure that everything is running according to City and Guilds requirements. The next person would be the exam secretary, or in large centers, the coordinator. That person would have to be on top of checking candidates' records, registration, and claims for certification. And they will have to manage the City and Guilds administrative requirements. The other person who is critical is the internal verifier or coordinator for large centers. That person will have to review the quality assurance arrangements across all the qualifications, check on the internal quality assurance monitoring records, and to discuss or to agree on any action plans that were given by City and Guilds external quality assurance. What are the risks of poor internal verification? Now, if a center is not, the verification is not properly conducted, the IV process can expose a center to sanction and can fail one, the candidate, can fail City and Guilds as the awarding body, and every other person who has achieved a qualification. Examples of poor practice include not conducting ongoing internal verification. You're waiting at the end when the course is completed, and then you do up a report, which is no good. Not accurately recording decisions, rationales, and giving timely feedback, and not following a camera sampling strategy, which we will explore as we move further. Now, the risks of poor internal verification as far as sanction. During the course of an external quality assurance, City and Guilds may become aware of issues within a center that constitute non-compliance with our regulation. In such cases, City and Guilds may apply a sanction against the center in order to minimize negative impact on the learner of City and Guilds. The QSG, the Qualification Status Guide, international document, gives external quality assurance clear guidelines on what level of sanction must be recommended for each non-compliance issued within a center. So we have a clear guide, and the external quality assurance is the person who will recommend sanction at various levels to City and Guilds per center. Who and what we do, we continue with the internal verifier, or it's called today the internal quality assurer. That person will have to review the assessment of the qualification, check on all the QA records, discuss the next action plans and implementation, and make sure that you have an internal verifier strategy that you are working with, and make sure it's documented. As far as the assessors are concerned, these are the ones that will be on the front line. They will have to deliver the training. They will have to assess the candidates. They will have to discuss the assessment practice. They will have to check the assessment records and make sure that they are following the quality assurance methodology. The candidates/learners, on the other hand, they will have to discuss their progress with the qualification, check the understanding of all the procedures and policies, make sure that their portfolios and the evidence are in place, and they will have to, on a continuous basis, build their portfolio as we move on. Delivering a qualification. When we are going to deliver a qualification, the center has to conform to 4 basic items. 1, management and administrative system. That is to say, the center must have an org structure with arrangements and to satisfy the City and Guilds requirements. They must have physical resources. That is to say, the labs and workshops must be equipped with adequate tools and equipment to deliver the qualification. As far as the human resources is concerned, we must have documents of CVs with individuals as assessors, competent and qualified. As far as the assessment is concerned, we must have an assessment plan and a sampling plan in place. The quality assurance guidelines will ensure that City and Guilds standards are met, and there will be a documented quality assurance management plan in place. Let's see how we will deliver the assessment. The assessment strategy consists of is twofold. 1, we will have a practical task to demonstrate the task per qualification, per item, and we will have oral questions. The oral questions are across 12 occupational areas set by City and Guilds quality team, and these are available to all centers. As far as the evidence is concerned, we need to have 3 documents in place. 1 is the portfolio, 2 is the candidate achievement records, which is abbreviated into CARS, CAR, and the task assignment sheet. These are 3 documents that we must have in place, and the portfolio would consist of all the tools and evidence that have been used during the delivery of the training. Very important. As far as the portfolio evidence is concerned, it is really the collation of what has transpired throughout the delivery. So the portfolio would be a collation of the task sheets and the competence achievement record. In addition to that, you may have videos and you may have photos of evidence that have transpired. That is critical and must be lodged in the portfolio. Here we are looking at the sample of a CAR, competence achievement record, for basic electrical installation. Now, if we look at the left-hand side, we will have practical competencies. The first one, you would see health and safety, and we go on to 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and so on. And on the right-hand side, you would see standard achieved. So if the standard for one unit is being achieved, the assessor will have to move to the right-hand side and they will have to tick the appropriate boxes accordingly, and they will have to date it, and the candidate will have to initial it, and the learner will also have to initial it. Both the assessor and the candidate must initial the units as they move forward and to date it accordingly. Now, at the end of the competence achievement record, the assessor, the candidate, the IQA must sign it off, date it, and that will be available for the external verifier to verify. The task sheet is one that must be issued when an assessor is carrying out an assessment to do a task. For example, in electrical, you may have a task to connect a light to a switch. The task sheet must be used, outlining the tools and equipment you need, and a schematic diagram or a pictorial diagram, how you're going to install this circuitry, and at the end, it must be signed off and dated by the assessor. So it's very, very important. The task sheet will give some details, like here you're seeing a pictorial diagram. Sometimes you can use a schematic diagram that the learners must be informed, and they must follow the schematic diagram as shown on the task sheet, and the assessor will have to verify it. Now, as far as the knowledge skills, the questions that are being asked by the assessor, in this case, the assessment must have to, the assessor must be record what the learners have said and whether the knowledge was verified as suitable in order to pass this stage. At this stage, as far as the practical task also, whatever the units have been assessed, it must be documented in the task profile. And sometimes you may have a group task assignment, and that's not a problem. However, the assessor must be diligent to make sure that all of the group learners must participate actively in the practical task, instead of having only one learner doing all of the tasks and all of the learners are being credited. So the assessor must be diligent when they have a group project to make sure that there's active participation among all the learners. At the end, the assessor may have videos of candidates or photos performing the task. This could be used as evidence and collated in the portfolio. So at the end, a typical portfolio will have task sheet, will have the competence achievement record, CAR, and will also have videos and photos as evidence in the task sheet, in the portfolio. Delivering the assessment. When you are delivering the assessment, which the assessors would have been trained in, there are 4 stages. You must plan, then you observe, then you inspect, and you must give feedback. That's the process. All right, so remember that. You plan, you observe, you inspect, and you give feedback. Assessors should have been trained in this process before. Very, very important. All your assessments must be valid. All right, the assessment method must be appropriate to the qualification. It must be A, authentic. We want to make sure it's the learner's own work. Then it must be reliable. R, if repeated, we should get similar results. Then it must be C, current. The knowledge being tested is up to date. And of course, S, it has to be sufficient. That is to say, all criteria for the assessment have been met. VARCS, that's the acronym. Very important. Also, City and Guilds tend to use an acronym called CAMERA, CAMERA. Internal verification must be based on a strategy, and City and Guilds is urging the internal quality assurers to utilize the CAMERA principle, which is basically to keep records of the candidates, keep records of the assessor, take note of the methods of assessment you are using, whether it's oral and observation and so on. Make sure you have evidence, as we discussed before. Make sure you have all the instruments, recording instruments. And if you are visiting various sites, you have to ensure that that is documented. So CAMERA covers all the elements that you need to have when you're taking a sample from a center. CAMERA. Now, this is very important. When you have a sampling strategy, it is not feasible for us to sample 100%. So what we must do with our experience and making a professional judgment, we must provide a sample that will give sufficient, varied sampling of evidence to give a true picture of the quality of assessment in the center, so that you can be sure assessment practice and decision not sampled also meet the required standard. This is very, very important. So I think all assessors and IQA and assessment managers should take note of this and have this on the forefront of the burner. All right, we cannot watch everything, but we must use our experience and professional judgment to take sufficient sampling of evidence. Now, some of the factors that you have to consider is looking at the CAMERA principle. The size of the centers, the number of sites, the number of internal verifiers and assessors. This goes for huge centers. The level of experience in verification and assessment practice. The range of assessment methods used. In this case, fortunately, we are using mostly observation. The range of assessment methods used. The number and type of candidates, the internal verification system, that is the documented internal verifier strategy, and which qualification is being delivered. In this case, we are dealing with SPAs, skills proficiency awards, and we would be looking at two areas really, oral and practical assessment. Decision and recording. Now, we need to have recording instruments in place so that once the external quality assurer visited your center, they will be asking for certain documentation. So they would be looking at the assessments that was made. They would be making sure that the evidence is sufficient. We're making sure that the evidence is valid according to the qualification, and making sure that the candidate can demonstrate the competence. So records are very important. It must be standardized. We must have the documents in place. And very, very important, assessors and IPAs, we want to ensure that you are consistent in your assessment processes. What's the purpose of verification? Well, it's twofold, and it's part of the quality assurance structure. One, we want to make sure that the assessment is based on the qualification handbook, City and Guilds qualification handbook, which gives you the curriculum or the syllabus. And secondly, we want to make sure that the team, which is the assessor and the IQA, understand the requirements of the qualification. Very, very important. And then secondly, we want to make the internal quality assurer has a documented process and is implemented the IV strategy correctly. And this is where we as external quality assurers would be readily available to provide support to the internal quality assurer to make sure he or she is implementing the strategy correctly. Also, continuing on verification, we have to make sure that the management is available, the policies are in place to make sure that proper oversight, so we don't have maladministration and malpractice taking place. We have to make sure that the physical and staff resources are in place. That is to say, the labs are adequate, there are sufficient tools and equipment. We have to make sure that the staff is competent and qualified to do their job. And we have to make sure that the labs is fully equipped and fit for purpose, and all the HSE factors are in place so that the team and the candidates will work in a safe environment. What about external verification? That is, the City and Guilds verifiers or quality assurers externally will have to come in and take a look. The centers must engage and respond to activity planning in a timely manner. They must ensure that all the portfolios, the task sheets, the competency achievement records are in place. And they have to ensure that the external quality assurer is given timely access to all the requested evidence in a secured format. Electronically is preferred, and we are talking here about the portfolio. And the next one, fourthly, ensure staff are available to be contacted by the external quality assurer during the sample, and should any questions arise. Sometimes the external quality assurer on a physical visit may interview some of the learners to verify that what the assessor is saying is true. All right, we trust the assessor, but sometimes the external quality assurer would like to interview some of the learners to just verify that all is well. Continuous professional development, acronym CPD, is really is encouraging the staff to continuously improve their resume and to be able to update their qualifications on a yearly basis. Now, the Japanese use a word called Kaizen, which means continuous professional improvement. So City and Guilds would urge on a yearly basis all the assessors, IQAs, and even the EQAs to develop themselves on an annual basis. Now, City and Guilds has a quality academy, and this is an online web-based e-learning courses. And this is something that we all can afford. It is free of charge. We don't have to pay anything. Once we are working with the City and Guilds framework, we don't have to pay. So you, as a center, would be given access to the Quality Academy, and the staff can access the Quality Academy on a yearly basis from time to time. And there are numerous courses to update your skills from time to time. And I certainly thank you for your patience. As a summary, what I would like to say is that we know we have competent staff among the centers. All we need the staff to do is to go through the center guides and to look at the quality assurance, the internal verifier strategy, make sure that the assessor is familiar with it, and to make sure that on a daily basis, once you are sampling an assessor, to make sure that you are following the guidelines of the internal verifier strategy. Once you do that, and you ensure that all the recording instruments are correctly filled out, dated, signed off, and the portfolio is well collated, then we do not have to worry, because the external quality assurer will have all the requested documents in place to make their verification and hopefully prepare a positive report for certification.
We're now going to hear from 4 key presenters for our Skills Proficiency Awards. We'll be hearing from Mr. Donovan Beswick and he is going to be presenting on motor vehicle engineering. You're also going to be hearing from Ramonia Brown. She'll be presenting on IT for office application. Also, Lorenzo Harris, as he presents on carpentry. And last but not least, Shanice Gordon, as she presents on food preparation.
Hello, my name is Donovan Bradshaw Beswick, External Quality Assurer for City and Guilds. Today we are going to do an overview of the Skills Proficiency Award 3529-07. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, before entering into the Skills Proficiency Award, it is very important that you have a good functioning vehicle. A vehicle that has a good engine and it can actually start. As you know, the Skill Proficiency Award has 10 different areas in it, and that includes engine, fuel system, gearbox, suspension and steering, brakes, to name a few. So all those areas should be accessible, so they can be either serviced or repaired. The Skill Proficiency Award really is a basic servicing and repair qualification. So if you approach it from that angle, you will know exactly what a general service entails. So you're going to be needing specific things like filter pullers, sockets extension and ratchet handle to do the oil changes. As it relates to transmission, you're going to need a drain pan so you can get rid of the oil from the transmission, and so you can replenish new fluids. Of course, the transmission in this case is here. Alright, so when you finish filling up, your students must be able to check the transmission fluid. Now, some transmissions do not have dipsticks, so there are specific procedures for that, which you can find. You can Google, right, to find the procedure for that. Outside of that, the engine will need special tools for different areas. Like for the cooling system, you're gonna need your pressure tester to check if there are leaks, either for the system itself or for the radiator cap. The belts, which are here, your students must be able to check them and to identify whether there are cracks or worn belts. The braking system over there, check fluid levels to make sure that there's no leaks. As you know, as long as for two reasons the fluid level would fall. Either you have a leak or your disc pads are almost worn, right? So you'd have to check the braking system. So if you don't have a good functioning vehicle, then you will not be able to do most of the units, and your students would not be qualified for certification. Now, as you know, this is a horizontally opposed engine, so it's really difficult to see some of the things like the spark plugs and so on. But you know you're going to need those tools and your jack and your stands and service fluids. But the last time you were here, we did a complete front disc brake and caliper inspection and service, where we did the inspection on the disc pads to make certain that they were in good working order. And this rotor itself, we check the condition to find if this rotor was worn or scored. We check the caliper swing pins and make sure that the caliper can be easily flexed from one side to the next, so that there is no premature wear. Right? This is just to say that the areas need special tools and real vehicles that can be used. Don't be afraid to introduce your students to more advanced technology, because it's coming and they need to learn it. So even though the syllabus might look seemingly looks very simple, you can actually include more modern technologies so that when they go out in the world of work, they can easily apply themselves. Now we're going to do an overview of the syllabus content. Now students must have a knowledge of the area, basic area, and the safety requirements, the correct use of tools and equipment, principles of four-stroke engine, the cooling system, fuel system, the ignition system, chassis, and basic electrical system. Now, students or candidates should be able to demonstrate their ability to carry out maintenance procedures in the following 10 areas: health and safety, engine system, petrol system, ignition system, cooling system, braking system, suspension system, transmission system, electrical system, and vehicle body. Now, these systems are subdivided, and so students should be able to do the basic servicing, like changing oil filters as it relates to engine system, check valve clearances, be able to use a compression tester for removing parts, basic parts from the engine removal and replacement. On the petrol system, to remove fuel filters and check fuel lines for leaks. Should be able to remove and replace fuel tanks. For the diesel petrol system, must be able to remove and replace fuel filters and bleed the system of air. As you know that if the system has air in it, then the engine will not start. Ignition system, students should be able to remove and replace distributor, set ignition timing, and remove and replace plugs correctly. Nowadays, everything is gone modernized, so you have coilover plugs now, so you have to introduce your students to the changes so that they can function in the workplace. Cooling system will require a cooling system pressure tester, and they must be able to remove cooling system components like the water pump, thermostat, hoses, and so on. For the braking system, they should be able to comfortably remove and replace disc pads, brake shoes, proper service the contact areas, make sure that they understand what the wear points are, what are the wear indicators in these areas, and what would cause particular problems in the braking system, and also to be able to remove wheel, master cylinders, and also to bleed the braking system of air. As you know, if the braking system has air, then you're going to have the pedal going all the way to the floor, and if possible could cause accidents. As it relates to suspension system, they must be able to use the coil spring tool to disassemble the coil spring, remove the spring. The transmission system can be automatic or gearbox, whichever units that you have on hand. For gearbox, students must be able to inspect, drain, and replenish oil levels by removing the indicator at the side of the gearbox so they can see the oil level. And for the transmission system, must be able to check transmission fluid while the engine is running. Also on the transmission system, drive shaft, cross and bearing might need servicing, greasing particularly, or it could be that the center line bearing on the propeller shaft need replacing. CV joints is another service area. Sometimes the rubber or the goiter is damaged, and so the joints need greasing. As it relates to clutch assembly, students must be able to use the clutch alignment tool to put the clutch disc and pressure plate in place so that the transmission or the gearbox can safely and accurately go inside the clutch disc. For electrical systems, must be able to remove, replace, and check the alternator belt for tension, proper tension. Must be able to safely remove and replace bulbs, remove and replace battery safely. And remember that when you're removing the battery, you should always have a slave battery to the system to prevent the electrical system from losing stored memory of different types, like shutter position sensor, memory, radio memory, seat memory position, and so on. Also, they must also be able to understand how to do jump starts, even though it's not a recommended thing that you do a jump start. But when you connect batteries, the vehicle that is actually getting the jump start, the ground should be on the chassis and not directly on the battery negative. Sorry. As it relates to the vehicle body, this has to do with just greasing the necessary points where there are grease nipples available for servicing. Today we will be removing, inspecting, and replacing this front tire and disc pads. We have put together a set of tools to carry out this task, and as you can see, we have our axle stands, our spanners, sockets, ratchet handle, our scissors jack. But for this exercise, we'll not be using this jack because sometimes it can be very difficult to use, so we'll be using our hydraulic jack today. So we're going to be setting up our area right now so we can bring out this task. Now we are going to remove the tire from the vehicle, from the left side of this Honda Civic, and so that we can get to the disc pads for inspection and also to inspect the tire. We're going to be using the lug tool to slacken the lug nuts so that when we raise the vehicle we can easily remove the tire. All right. Now we are going to position the jack in the safe jacking point that is designated for this car. And safe jacking point means that there is a secure area on the chassis that the jack must be positioned so that it does not the chassis doesn't get crushed by the weight as the jack is being used to lift the vehicle. So I'm going to help Ryan now to position the jack at this safe jacking point. All right, I know he's going to lift. All right. For safety reasons, the jack handle is carried all the way up, and the secure lock is put in place so that the handle does not fall down and someone trips over it. Now we're going to inspect under the vehicle to see if it has sufficient height so that the stand can go under safely, and also looking for another safe point in which the stand can be positioned.
Yeah.
It seems as if we need some more height, so we're going to go up a little higher. Up. Sometimes the jack can be a little tight. Check again. Now we're going to gently lower the vehicle on the stand just to make certain that the jack is in its correct position. Right, you want to make sure that the vehicle is secure, so you have to gently lower the vehicle. So just in case for some reason the stand was not positioned properly, at least you would get a chance to find that out before the vehicle actually suddenly falls to the ground. But now it seems as if it, by inspecting it, I have observed that it is quite safe for us to remove the jack now. So we're going to put the jack to one side and safely away. And remember, you always position your jack under upright and locked so that the handle doesn't fall and cause any accidents in the workshop. Now we're going to be removing the tire from the hub, Ryan, using our lug tool. It's pretty free now, so requires less effort. 5 lug nuts. We secure them each. Now some vehicles, there is provided a jacking point, a safe jacking point at the front of the vehicle, so you could actually put both stands under the vehicle at once. But in this case, because of the design of the chassis, it is not safe to put the jack at the front. It possibly might crush the engine or the transmission, and that is why we're doing one wheel at a time. Now we remove the tire. Again, slide it under the vehicle, because we're not going to be doing inspection quite yet on the tire, but we are going to be removing the disc pads. So we're going to select our tools. I believe 12. Yeah. All right. I believe we need a 12 socket. Rush it under. On the bottom. At the bottom. Sometimes we might have to turn the wheel a little. Alright, you can give me this nut, you can secure this nut. And now we're going to lift the bottom of the caliper. Alright, and slide it all the way up. Now we have access to our disc pad. Now these disc pads, from the look of it, you can see that it is a fairly new disc pad. But maybe the customer just wanted to find out, maybe like a squeaking, maybe a current, maybe it's the rain, and just wanted to find out if there was something wrong with the disc pad. But seeing that they are already out, you go to the next one. We're just gonna clean them up. Of course, we want to make sure our anti-rattle springs are in place. If the springs are not in place, you would hear a lot of rattling when the vehicle is driving and it falls in a pothole or something like that. You would hear like a tingling sound. It's very annoying. So we make sure they are in place, and usually they come with new disc pads. So sometimes it's really not necessary to change unless really they are worn. All right, so we're gonna also clean up our disc rotor. Once you have, once you have removed the pads, you want to take off any glaze marks that is on the rotor itself. Harder. Yeah. So what we have done is just to take the transmission from park so that the axle can actually turn freely, so we can actually clean off the inside of the disc rotor. All right. Usually when disc pads are changed, the piston here normally would come out some degree, and you would have to push it back in. Or when you're putting in the new disc pads, then the piston here would actually touch on it, and the whole caliper cannot go down. Right? So what normally would happen is that in this case, you can use what they call a G clamp, right? Which what you would do is put the clamp at this point and just push this piston down, but we don't have a G clamp. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be installing back a pad, right? And what we can do is put our handle here this way, and what we'll do is pull in this direction. If you look, you will see closely, you will see that the whole caliper is moving, right? What it is actually doing is pushing this piston in the return position so that you can actually fit new disc pads. Seeing that we have done this, after we have installed the other pad and and fitted up everything, what you would have to do as a normal procedure and safety procedure, you would pump up the brakes a few times until it becomes very hard. And what you're actually are doing is pushing the piston against the disc pads, so that when you go down on the brakes don't go to the floor. And a lot of technicians have done this, where they have fitted pads, they didn't pump up the brakes, they move the vehicle and it runs across the road and create an accident or some form of injury. All right. So now that we have put this in, we're going to put in the other pad. Shouldn't have any problem here because, as I say, it is not a worn pad or anything. We're just doing it for the exercise. And normally, sometimes you put a little grease on the inside, on the sliding joint in here, but as I said, we really don't have a problem with the caliper per se, so we're just doing this for the exercise. Making sure that the caliper is seated properly. That's a check I was doing a while ago. You change the direction of the ratchet handle and you firmly tighten it. I'm going to straighten back the wheels and it's straight. Now we have completed the removal and inspection of the disc pads. We have cleaned up all the components that's related to the braking system on the front, and now we are moving to the inspection of the tire that we have removed. Now, what are we looking for on the tire? A lot of things. First of all, we're looking for the tread depth, and we're going to be using this tread depth tool to measure the amount of depth left on this particular tire, the thread that is left on this particular tire. So what would happen, let me just do a little demonstration. If you notice, there's a little shaft here. What we do, put it down here and push this down like this. All right. Now, every manufacturer have their limit of wear on the tire, and most persons would say a limit of 3 millimeters is okay for a tire. Anything under that, you would replace the tire. So that is one way of knowing whether or not your tire needs replacement. Of course, the measurement would be displayed at this point. So by this measurement, this is saying that we have at least 6 millimeters left on this tread. Right? So we have another 3 to go. But there's other things about this tire. If you notice, the tire itself is worn on the outside. And usually when your tire is worn on the outside, it means that the tire is underinflated, meaning that this tire is running on low pressure. Right? To know what exactly the pressure is on the tire, most times the manufacturer will display it right in the center of the door jamb. We pull the door open and you can actually see the plate, and for each tire position on the vehicle, it will tell you the tire pressure. This vehicle uses about 32 pounds per square inch of air, but as you can see, customer has been driving this car on low pressure. Now, if the person was driving this car on excess pressure, then the middle of the tire would wear out and the outside would have on thread. All right. Now, if one side of the tire is worn, it is possible that the steering angles here is incorrect. So the tire is actually pointing in or pointing out. If it's pointing out, you would say that it's toe in, or it's pointing in, you say it's pointing out, it's toed out, pointing in, toed in. And in that case, you'd have to bring it to the alignment stand, and they would address those angles, because you cannot really do that here because you have to use specialized tool for that. So the only thing we see here on this tire, it's really under inflation. All right. Oh yes, another thing here, we don't have any, the cap for the valve is broken. right? So dirt and moisture and everything can get inside this valve. Looking around on the tire to see if there's anything else, right? Nothing else seemed to be out of place on this tire, right? So we can advise the customer about the air pressure. Now we can actually check the air pressure using this little gauge, very, very affordable. Perhaps you can get it at the gas station or the tire shop to purchase. What you would do, remove the cap from the valve, push it all the way down until the air stops, right? Take it out, and then now the reading is displayed right here, right? In this case, we have at least 28 pounds per square inch, which is below what is recommended for this particular tire. All right. Now we're gonna install our cap. Double check. We know that we did not pull the upper bolt on the caliper, so we are sure that what we did earlier was secure. We tightened the bolt that we actually pulled, but it doesn't hurt to actually check to see if any previous workmen did any work on it and the bolt is slack. Or these things does happen, and it seems to be quite fine. Now we're gonna install the tire. Making sure they are not cross-threaded. Nuts really should be torqued using a torque wrench, but you know the average person don't have that kind of specialized tool. So you next slide. So you use your lug tool and use your discretion firmly and have it tightened. If you notice he's doing it crisscross so that the rim can actually sit down properly on the hub. Now when he has run all the lug nuts up, then we will take the vehicle down where the tires is on the ground so that we can give it a final tightening. Alright, so that's all right. Now we are going to be lowering the vehicle. So we're going to do it in the reverse order. We're going to look back for a safe jacking point. Place our jack there. And then we're going to raise the vehicle and remove the stand. Always make sure when you're lowering a vehicle that the vehicle is either clutched or the vehicle is in park. Good, take up the angle first. Take up the angle first. Yeah. Lock it. Take your time. Take your time. So we're going to slowly lower the vehicle, remember? And the purpose of that is to make sure that the vehicle does not slide off the jack while you're lowering, damage the door or anything else on the chassis. Now we're removing our jack. And finally, we are going to tighten these lugs firmly so that this wheel will stay secured on this vehicle. If you notice, Ryan is at this position because when you're applying load, you're pulling any nut, you should always push down and not forward. And the reason for that, if you slip while pushing forward, you can damage yourself very badly because you would be pushing with all the force that you have, not knowing you would have damaged yourself. So always push down on the load. All right, not too tight. I'm gonna check now. I'm gonna recheck. firm. And this brings us to the conclusion. Now that we have finished the practical component, we're now going in the oral questioning. Ryan, tell me, why is it important to wear protective equipment and clothing?
We use protective gear to safeguard ourselves and prevent acidic burn and falling objects.
Ryan, why is it necessary to align the vehicle?
Well, to ensure that the wheel is parallel when the vehicle is moving.
And what will happen if those wheels are not aligned properly?
If the vehicle is not properly aligned, when you're driving, the vehicle will always pull to the left or pull to the right.
I instructed that the brakes should be pumped until the pedal is firm, because accidents have occurred where technicians have worked on vehicles, and when they move the vehicle out of the shop, there is no brake and there's an accident. You want to remind us why?
Yeah, we have to always ensure that we pump the brake so that it push out the piston to the disc pad to ensure safety when braking.
We have now come to the end of this task. We have completed the practical and the oral questioning. Teachers, please ensure that your students take pictures as for evidence that can be placed in a portfolio for evidence on assessment. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for sticking and staying with us throughout the presentation. Now, you're at liberty to take a break. We don't want you to be fatigued. All right? So we're going to be sharing the link to our survey, as we want to hear from you what your experience was, as we want to improve your experience each year. So look out for that in the chat and feel free to ask any questions, as our presenter is available to answer them.
Let me start that one here. Like how Martin Luther King would have started. My dream, my dream, my dream, my dream, my dream. Tell you my dream is to live my dream. Hear the most I in me sleep when me sleep. Tell you my goal, my goal, my goal. All of my goal is to reach my goal. Live a happy life, put it on me headstone. Nobody no fi cry over me dead. Look at me now, when them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now. I mean, I tell you my life, where them used to go round me, go round. No one used to come round me, my life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. Me a take plane like JUTC. When you see me, it's on TV. Shows after shows after shows after shows. Tours after tours after tours after tours. When me name call is like roars after roars. Sweet melody and chorus after chorus. Them lock a one door, me bust doors after doors after doors after doors after doors after doors. Look at me now, where them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now. I mean, I tell you my life, where them used to go round me, go round. No one used to come round me, my life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. The blessing does a flow over. This a copia and a cover. Jaja soldier, from boardhouse to sidewalk to leather sofa. Them say me living at the coast and no track, no sir. Me no mix up in a coca. Marijuana no dust to the nose, yeah. I no powder, not a obia. Can't get over. Look at me now, where them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now. I mean, I tell you my life, where them used to go round me, go round. No one used to come round me, my life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. Me and thank God for me blessing. No, me can afford to give back to some of the same people. Them were used to set things, all who used to set him. Nah, boss him, can't boss them. Same one I take boss, come on stage trophy, call up them. But me still a call up them. Boss them, but me can't trust them. See them, but me not touch. No, hate them, but me can't love them. From Trenchtown, our next star rise again. Look at me now, where them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now. I mean, I tell you my life, where them used to go round me, go round. No one used to come round me, my life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now, look Look at me now, where them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now. I mean, I tell you my life, where them used to go round me, go round. No one used to come round me. My life was so lonely.
Like the caterpillar that becomes a butterfly, you too were born to fly.
I was born with everything I need to be me, with wings inside my mind to set me free. I know I've got vision more than my eyes can see, and I know I rule my destiny. So no matter how hard you try, no, you can never change my mind. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I, yeah. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I. Hey, watch out now. This a for every caterpillar member say you can't fly. Don't watch no mosquito or no sunfly. Don't sit down and complain, get up and try. Say the word, the whole universe comply. Aye. Work on your goals and build them. Take time and sharpen your skills them. And your dreams, don't make no one kill them. Them soon see your wings them. And no matter how hard you try, there's a fact they can't deny. If caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I, yeah. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I, yeah. Yes, I know that I can fly. For I've learned the laws of life. I know that caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I. I was born with everything I need to be me. Wings inside my mind to set me free. I know I've got vision more than my eyes can see. And I know I rule my destiny. So no matter how you try, no, you will never change my mind. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I, yeah. If caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I. Oh, yeah. If you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you. If you stand up for those down on their knees and lend a voice to those who cannot speak, if you shine a little light, give sight to the ones who've lost their way, there's a place for people like you. I've heard up there the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you. If you walk around with your heart on your sleeve. And if you're trying to be the change you wanna see, if you lay down your life for love so someone could be saved, there's a place for people like you. I've heard up there the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you. There's a place up there for people like you. I know you're out there, so keep doing what you do. 'Cause there's a place up there for people like you. Out of many one people we are.
Good day, colleagues, and may God bless you always. My name is Ramonia Brown, the head of the business department at Waterford High School. Today, I'll be presenting on the IT for Office Applications Skills Proficiency Awards. All right, the IT for Office Applications curriculum is going to be discussed today in three main areas. I would like to look at the content, the delivery, and the assessment. Now, the content is broken down into about 8 units, namely presentation, spreadsheets, health and safety, IT principles, word processing, database, internet, and email. So we're going to be looking at the health and safety component. This component has 5 subunits, ranging from carrying out safe working practices to identifying and reporting faulty equipment, to use of electrical equipment in accordance to national and local standards, moving on to carrying out correct procedures to isolate a person in contact with a simulated live single-phase electrical supply. And of course, we close off with selecting correct equipment to carry out basic firefighting techniques. Now, I remember when my students did this last year, it was very interesting because they were able to learn a lot about fire extinguishers and the different types of fires and stuff like that. So these are very, very, very good subtopics, and the students will have fun when they're going through it, and they'll also learn a lot. Next, we will be looking at the IT principles component. Here we have 4 major areas to cover, from accessing shared files on a network to modifying a computer desktop's configuration and options. The students will also learn to set application software to automatically save and also to make backup copies of files and respond to error messages and screen prompts. Some suggested practical tasks that you could do for this area is to teach your students how to access shared folders using the Google Drive modality or even Dropbox for those who are familiar with Dropbox. So let us now examine the word processing component of the curriculum. If you teach information technology or EDPM, you're quite familiar with the many things that one can do when studying word processing. But for IT for Office applications, we focus on 6 main areas, such as planning and creating layouts for different types of documents, inserting and adjusting objects within a document, creating and using and formatting tables, creating templates, printing selections from documents, and of course, setting up and producing simple merged documents. Now, here are some suggested practical tasks that you could do. You could create a personal or a business letterhead. You could create letters to the editors. You could create resumes using the tables feature. Create study timetables, also using the tables feature. You could recreate a class timetable or create application letters and merge them to multiple recipients. What we need to understand is that we are very flexible as to what our tasks are. So let us try to be also creative and to zone in on who our learners are and what their needs are. Next, we are going to look at spreadsheets, another interesting component of this curriculum. For the spreadsheets component, another 6 main areas that we will focus on. Creating and testing spreadsheets to meet given specifications, and this is very important that you have specifications and the students have to be able to create the spreadsheets based on that. Moving and copying cell formulae and formats, organizing data, sorting data, using the search and replace and data formulae features, and also to be able to set your spreadsheet to view formulae. And of course, what would spreadsheets be without the production of graphs and charts to enhance your numerical data? Some suggested practical tasks when doing your spreadsheet component. The students could create a personal budget for either a week or a month. Students could also use spreadsheets to create timetables, as well as the creation of a teacher markbook with the students' grades. These are some pretty interesting tasks that I would have garnered from my students and watching some of the things that they tend to ask you when you are using spreadsheets. So we want to tailor, as I said before, our activities to suit our learners, their needs, and also the resources that you have available. Next, we're going to look at databases. Now, databases is something that we all need and we all use. And as we study databases, students will learn to create simple databases, edit databases, and carry out single condition searches on a database. Some suggested practical tasks: the creation of a teacher form register or the creation of a database for the school talk show. Another interesting practical task that you may want to choose is the creation of a student database for the generation of the school report. I find that tasks such as these will get the students really involved in what is going on because these are areas that they are familiar with and they can relate to. Next, we look at presentations, which is by far my favorite part of the curriculum. Here we will use Microsoft PowerPoint software or its equivalent, which would have been Google Slides, to create simple presentations by using the basic functions that are offered by the graphic software. Students will learn to edit software, customize different slides, and also to integrate their own oral presentation skills in demonstrating their presentations when they are finished. Suggested practical task for this area is the creation of a presentation on any topic from previous unit. So as you go through your other units, when you get to the portion where you're going to create presentations, you could integrate what you would have learned from the previous units and have your students present on that. I find that is a very interesting and creative way to do it. Next, we will look at internet and email. Now, internet and email, they're like cousins. So you have your students do the research using the different skills and different tools that are there on the internet, and of course they can share their information with you by using the email with all that you would have taught them about basic email protocols and internet protocols. So this is also another very interesting area, and the students usually tend to gravitate here, do well here, because use of internet and the email is like second nature to them. Next, we want to look at an actual task. Today, we're going to be looking at the unit presentation, and we're going to be merging that with health and safety. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to create a simple presentation using basic functions of presentation software, as well as to carry out safe working practices to prevent hazards and ensure the safety of self and other personnel. After Mr. Hemmings would have completed his practical, he would be engaged in oral assessment. Now, we would have had samples of suggested questions, or the questions that the students are supposed to be exposed to in order to ascertain their competence or lack thereof. And of course, one has to ensure that the relevant documents are completed. So our car documents with the date of the assessment, also the signature of the student and the assessor must be completed for all units. Also, for each practical, please ensure that your task assignment sheet is duly completed and signed by the assessor and the student. Now that we have looked at the core units of this curriculum, which are word processing, spreadsheets, database, and presentation, we are now going to move into a live practical. Now that we have completed the live practical, it is now time for the student to be exposed to the underpinning knowledge questions in the oral format. Mr. Hemmings, are you ready for your questions?
Yes, miss.
All right, first question. What feature will you use to apply motion effects in between a slide and another slide?
That would be transition slide.
All right, slide transition. Okay. Next. Objects on a slide that holds texts are called
Placeholder.
Okay. Number 3. The slide that is used to introduce a topic and set the tone for the presentation is called
Title slide.
It's a title slide. All right. And our last question. State at least 2 guidelines on what to do when lifting a heavy object.
Always make your feet apart and lift with your feet.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. We have now come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for being with us today. We enjoyed presenting to you. Have a good rest of the day.
Hello everyone, my name is Lorenzo Harris. I am from the Dunoon Park Technical High School, teacher of carpentry and joinery. I've been teaching since 2002 to now, and I will be doing a presentation on how to carry out the assessment in basic carpentry for City and Guilds in the Skills Proficiency Award. Today we'll be presenting on the syllabus content and the assessment strategy as it relates to the carpentry units. Assessment strategy will take shape of 2 forms: practical competence and knowledge requirement. For the practical competence, we use for the finished product, and for the knowledge requirement, we ask question and answers. Those are the 2 methods, and all the evidence will be coming from both areas. Before carrying out the assessment, there are some things that we must bear in mind, which we refer to as the dimension of competence. Right? And competence involves the successful completion of work performance. It is usually seen to comprise of the following dimensions. 1. Tasks. Undertaking specific workplace tasks. 2. Task management skill. Managing a number of different tasks to complete the whole activity. 3. We look at contingency management skill. This is responding to problems and irregularities when undertaking work activities. Example, changes in routine, unexpected results, or outcome. And the final one, which is job role environment skills. So that is dealing with the responsibilities of expectations of the work environment when undertaking activities such as working with others, complying with standards and policy procedures, and observing the organization policy and procedures. Let us look at the syllabus content. All right, the syllabus comprises of two units. 1, the skills basics, the skill foundation, and the skills proficiency certificate. All right. However, for this one, we will be dealing with the skills proficiency certificate in carpentry, which is the unit number is 352901. For the unit outcome, it looks at 4 areas: health and safety, tool maintenance, materials, and tool skills. The performance criteria, which describes the performance, level of performance that is required for each unit. These are used as tools for assessment. The range provides example guidelines on different situations and contexts given the conditions, boundary, or context to the performance criteria to minimize variation of interpretation. just sample questions and answers. Let's take a look at each unit. All right, so we're at health and safety. 2.1. Carry out safe working practices to prevent hazard and to ensure safe working personnel and member of the public. 2.2. Carry out safe working practices using various equipment materials to protect surroundings, work area from infringement or contamination. 2.3. Carry out the safe erection, use and dismantling of simple scaffold and platform less than 2 meters high. 2.4. Inspect faults, set up and safely use steps and ladders in general use. 2.5. Set up safety barriers around obstruction to protect working personnel and members of the public. 2.6. Select and use protective clothing and safety equipment for specific tasks. 2.7. Use and store material in a safe manner. Teachers, for this unit, what you need to do, you can just design a practical around this area that encompasses all the units from 2.1 to 2.7. All right, so you can have persons doing some form of housekeeping, lifting and carrying of different heavy equipment, utilizing a scaffold, maybe doing some basic maintenance around the work environment. So if there is no resources to provide such thing, you can simply go around and do a simple maintenance. Just be resourceful and carry out a simple maintenance that will lead to all the units in this particular section. Let's look at tool maintenance. All right, for this unit, it runs from 2.8 to 2.10. So 2.8 speaks to sharpen, set, and top handsaws. 2.9, sharpen and own chisels and plane blade. 2.10, assemble hand planes and ready for use. All right, so for this assessment, you can ask the candidate to assemble or disassemble and assemble a plane. You can also give them an activity to sharpen and own a chisel blade. All right, and for the different types of saws, you can just have a simple exercise by showing them how to sharpen a saw blade, right? And then you can carry out the various assessment in regard or grade them accordingly, right? Materials. 2.11, identify and select common softwood from given specification. 2.12, identify and select common hardwood from given specification. 2.13, identify and select manufactured boards and sheet material from given specification. And 2.14, identify and select screws and nails from given specification. All right, for this task, you can allow the candidate to carry out a practical exercise with a combination, just to make a simple, can use a simple bookshelf and encompass the use of the different materials, right? You can use the different materials and the fasteners as it relates to a finished product. So, as I said, for example, a bookshelf, and just for a candidate to identify and use the different types of materials. All right, so let us look at tool skill. All right, tool skill ranges from 2.15, which select, use, clean, store, setting out, and marking out tools and equipment. 2.16, select, use, clean, and store hand tools to produce joints, components, and products. And 2.17, select, use, clean, and store hand tools to set out and construct frames and products. 2.18, select, use, and clean, and store portable power tools. Okay, so this is the part that is the most easiest task for the candidate. Based on the practicals that were discussed in previous for materials, this is where you can outline the context or the conditions under which the student will use the different tools to carry out this project. So 1, you allow them to select the required tools for the job. 2, when they are through completing the task, they are expected to they are expected to clean and store the tools, and also they will be able to use the tool as well to construct joints, basic joints, or to carry out some level of constructions. And we also incorporate the portable power tools. So it is basically what we are doing is to integrating all the tools, the different tools, different categories of tools to complete a finished product. Now that we have completed the syllabus content, we will be looking at carrying out the assessment process. All right, in this phase, when you are carrying out the process, you will debrief the candidate. And once you debrief the candidate, explain what is required of them, what they're expected to do, and also you need to do a needs assessment, taking into account special assessment requirement, language in terms of if the candidate is familiar with the jargons of the trade, if they are having problems in doing calculations, or if they are lack of confidence, you try to put them at ease, depending on their culture or cultural factors, or if they have, can be an unfortunate situation where they would be demonstrating or have some level of physical disabilities or behavioral problems. Okay, so as the assessors, we have to look into those to ensure that we make the process as fair as possible to the candidate so they can carry out the assessment and become certified. All right, now that we have looked at the syllabus content, we are now going to delve into the assessment plan. All right, and this is where we will determine whether the student is competent or not yet competent. All right, today's task is to construct and install a door frame as well as to install a door in accordance with the given specification. All right, so based on the instructions to the candidate, candidates are expected to work in groups of 2 where the appropriate safety gears while carrying out each task. Select the appropriate tools and materials for the job. Measure and cut materials to required size accurately. So lay out and construct appropriate joint according to standard. Assemble and install door frames and door to industry standard. All right, so for the guidelines, you are expected to plan and organize work, carry out safe working policies and practices, and demonstrate safe and effective use of the tools and equipment with the correct technique. And now we will move to a live assessment where we have 2 students, Damani Edwards and Junior Miller, who will be carrying out that task.
Alright, now that we have completed our practical assessment, we're going to move into the question and answer segment. Amani, why should risk assessment be carried out before starting any job?
To identify any possible danger.
Alright. Warning notice and barriers are often used on construction sites. Why is this?
To alert people that there are construction in the area.
Alright. Alright, Junior. Alright, name 3 types of layout tools.
Framing square, spirit level, and marking gauge.
Alright. And the next one is, why should the work area get tidy and clean?
To reduce accidents and work done properly.
Alright, thank you.
Hi, good day. My name is Shanice Gordon, a trained food nutrition and health specialist, a trained teacher mentor, and a trained internal verifier and external verifier. Today, I will be presenting on the skills proficiency in City and Guilds, focusing on City and Guilds in basic food preparation. The syllabus contents involves 4 units: health and safety, food preparation, cooking methods, storage and care of materials. First unit is health and safety. Select and wear protective clothing and footwear in the workplace.
Report any personal condition that could affect food safety and take appropriate action. Carry out basic first aid treatments. Report faulty machinery and equipment likely to contribute to unsafe food conditions. Apply good housekeeping practices at all times. Practice clean, tidy work areas, removable or disposal of waste. As a teacher, I currently teach City and Guilds in basic food preparations, and tasks that could be carried out in this unit are allowing the students to purchase their protective clothing and footwear. That includes their personal protective equipment such as their lab coats, their earnet, or their chef hats in order to complete and practical exercise. Also, you could give a student a worksheet to identify the various hazards in the work area, that is the food laboratory or in the school surrounding. To carry out the basic first aid treatments, you could give the students real life scenario and apply the role play, and after doing the role play, ask them to take pictures as evidence for their portfolios. Apply good housekeeping practices at all times. Ensure that they clean the lab and sanitize at each practical sessions. Encourage them to take out the garbage when they are finished completing and practical exercise. The next unit is on food preparation. So we're getting started. So after we have covered the personal protective equipment, they are ready to go in the kitchen. So they need to select appropriate commodities and equipment for specific tasks. Tasks: raw and cooked food, vegetable, fruits, meat, poultry, preliminary preparation, washing, cleaning, peeling, skinning, cutting, and slicing. Shelling, threading, filleting, trimming, descaling, gutting, portioning, chopping, cooking, boiling, poaching, steaming, braising, deep frying, shallow frying, baking, roasting, grilling, microwave cooking, storage. Prepare foods. Ensure materials involved in food preparations are hygienically clean. Complete tasks efficiently to time, logical order, tidy manner, and carry out a simple comparison between fresh and convenience commodities. As a teacher, completing the food preparation skills, you could do a practical on the different methods of cooking. You could give the students a worksheet to complete the methods of cooking and what food can be done using that particular method of cooking. Ask them to create a recipe book with the different recipes, and then ask them to complete a practical in carrying out this task effectively. The convenience foods, you could ask them to incorporate in their practical fresh, and the difference between fresh and convenience foods. Ask them to take in 2 fresh foods and 2 convenience foods of their choice to complete the practical given. The next unit is on cooking methods. Follow procedures to select, prepare, and cook food items by boiling. Follow procedures to select, prepare, and cook food items by steaming. Follow procedures to select, prepare, and cook food items by stewing. Follow procedures to select, prepare, and cook food items by roasting. Prepare and cook basic sauces. This include hot sauces and cold sauces. Prepare and cook basic soups. As a teacher, you could include a practical exercise. You could place the students in a group activity to carry out these different methods of cooking. So for example, the recipe book that they started in the previous presentation that I spoke about, you could ensure that the students include in their recipe books the different recipes of the different methods of cooking. Allow the students to choose the practical that they want to complete based on these methods of cooking. So students could choose a variety of recipes and allow them to choose from the different types. In preparing the sauces, the hot and the cold sauces, as a teacher, you could allow the students to carry out a practical exercise by choosing a hot sauce and a cold sauces. One of the cold sauces that they could do is a vinaigrette. Also, an hot sauce that they could do is a roux sauce or a white sauce, and make a main meal dish from that sauce. Allow them to choose different recipes based on the different soups. So a cream soup recipe, a puree, and a broth, a thickened, so they would have variety of recipes and different types of soups. The last unit focuses on storage and care of materials. Keep cleaning materials and other dangerous chemicals in clearly labeled containers. Away from food items, use stock of all commodities in rotation according to age or use by date. Keep all storage areas tidy and clean. So basically, as a teacher, you could give them the food laboratory to clean, get different chemicals, allow them to label the chemicals based on the topic that was done on hazards and safety signs. Also, for example, if there is a canteen at the school, stocks are coming in. So basically, you could plan a practical where you could visit the cafeteria at the school and allow the students to pack the shelf and also teach them a lesson from that experience right there. So the use by date, and we want to also allow them to stock correctly. So we could plan a practical to go to the cafeteria. Comparison, I have been teaching City and Guilds for over the past 5 years. I've seen where this has helped students academically, and also it has helped my students where students maybe can't literally write an exam, but they have the practical skills and they have the practical knowledge that they can explain. So City and Guilds, CSEC, and NC TVET is designed to provide certification of the academic, vocational, and technical achievements of students in the Caribbean who having completed a minimum of 5 years of secondary education, who wishes to further their studies. The examination addressed the skills and knowledge acquired by students under a flexible and articulated systems where subjects are organized. So you have a syllabus to actually teach the contents to guide you. The 3 different subject areas have similar syllabus content. Having teaching NCTVET, it has topics that are repeated in the City and Guilds. The same thing applies for CXC. So all exams are important, but I've seen where my students are now maybe in the field working, and that is what helps to motivate me as a teacher. Focusing on the assessment strategies used. Assessment must be carried out in accordance with the requirements described in delivering international qualification, the center guides. Assessors, instructors should familiarize themselves with the guide to assessment of the practical skill contained in the handbook. So basically, when you're carrying out a practical skills, you need a task A1 sheet. The task A1 sheet, it tells you the task that the student is required to complete. It also guides you on how the candidate must complete this task. The practical assessment. The practical assessment for the Skills Proficiency Awards are derived from the practical competencies. The competencies checklist, the tick box, that would be on the continuous assessment record sheets, serve as the marking criteria for these record outcome of each candidate performs the competence checklist, a list of activities or perform outcomes that a candidate must be seen to be able to do in order to be considered competent in the task being assessed for these afterwards. So in the practical assessment, the student should execute the task. As a teacher, you're going to tell them the expected outcome, and after you're going to give them guided feedback if they are deemed competent or not yet competent. The knowledge assessment. Assessment of underpinning the knowledge requirement in this program are tested by asking questions at the end of the practical assessment to verify that the candidate understands the reason why a particular activity has been performed. The person carrying out the assessment of practical competencies is responsible for asking questions about underpinning knowledge and recording the candidate responses on the relevant form. The candidate response record form must be available for review by the external verifier. So after you have completed the knowledge assessment, so you would have taught, if you're doing soups, you would have basically taught the students about soups. And when you're finished completing the practical, now you would ask them some oral questions and write down the answers to actually verify that the students understand what is it that the task that they are completing and the underpinning knowledge that you have actually taught the student. The checklists are written in the same way, so that for each competence statement, it is possible to say either, yes, the candidate successfully carried out this activity, or no, the candidate has not yet achieved this standard. So after doing that, if the candidate did achieve this unit, you move on to the next unit. If the candidate was deemed not successful in this unit, you could do an action plan and carry out that task another day. Notify the candidate of the date that is issued. Today we'll be doing a live practical demonstration on cooking the basic soups. Today we'll be doing a cream of pumpkin soup and also a vegetable broth. This is the one, Taylor, my student, and today you are required to complete the task. The task is that you're going to prepare and serve the basic soups. The tasks include the learning objectives, prepare and serve a cream soup and a broth. You're going to collect the necessary utensils and ingredients needed. You're going to set up your work area by sanitizing, washing your tools and utensils that you're going to use. Weigh and measure ingredients accurately, and you're going to use suitable tools to combine the ingredients properly. Also, you're going to prepare and serve the dishes attractively. So you're going to garnish and decorate. Remember, sweet dishes are decorate and savory dishes are garnish. Evaluate your finished dishes. So when you're finished, I'm going to use a mark scheme to evaluate your finished dishes. These are some points that I will be looking for as a characteristic for a good soup. It must have contained a proper consistency. Creamy soup must have a creamy texture, right? It must have a good flavor, not too salty and not too overpowering. Also, I will be looking for your bouquet garni bag that you use to put your garnishes in, your herbs and spices in. So we must be able to taste these spices and herbs in the soup, but we are not supposed to be able to see them. So you need a bouquet garni bag. Understood?
Yes.
So now we'll be going to complete the task. Alright, are you ready?
Yes, Miss, I'm ready.
Okay. Now we'll be doing the demonstration on the basic soups. Just some key checks now. The one, do you have olive oil?
Olive oil.
Do you have onion?
Onion.
Celery?
Celery.
Carrot?
Carrot.
Basil? Garlic? And thyme. Now for the pumpkin soup, do you have the pumpkin?
The pumpkin.
The onion?
Onion.
The bouquet garni bag?
Bouquet garni bag.
Scallion?
Scallion.
Thyme? Salt?
Salt.
Onion powder?
Oh, so onion powder.
And the cooking cream?
Cooking cream.
And the chicken broth. Now we'll be executing some of our knife skills as it relates to slicing, peeling, and cutting. This was washed already. Ready. We are finished cutting up the pumpkin and now we will be cutting up the onions. Now the celery. Now the carrot. Now we have our bouquet garni bag with our herbs and spices. Include in our thyme, scallion, bay leaves, garlic, and also our pimento seeds. Now we'll be placing the chicken broth in the boiling water. We'll be adding the pumpkin to the chicken broth. Onion. And the garlic. We will be allowing this to boil and then reducing the heat. If you have noticed, we have added an additional pot to do our vegetable broth. Before we go to our vegetable broth, now we'll be adding our herbs and spices that is prepared in a bouquet garni bag. Now we'll be proceeding to our vegetable broth. We'll be sauteing our onion, carrots, and also our spinach in the olive oil. And this creates a mirepoix. We'll be cooking for about 5 minutes and consistently stirring until cooked and soft. We are sauteing until soft. Now we'll be adding the water to the cooked vegetables. We will be simmering for 45 minutes. We added our bouquet garni bag and now we will allow it to simmer for 45 minutes. And we will be adding our cooking cream to puree the pumpkin. Finished products on the basic soups. We have used the cooking cream to garnish our cream of pumpkin soup and also the vegetable used to garnish our vegetable broth. Now we'll be carrying out the knowledge skill aspect of the task assignment sheet. These questions will be asked orally. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, relax. Define the term soup.
Soup can be defined as a liquid food with meat, fish, or vegetable stock as a base often contains pieces of solid food.
Yes, very good. So tell me now, what is a broth?
A broth is a stock-based soup.
Okay, very good. And could you give me an example of a broth?
Example of a broth is a vegetable broth and Scotch broth.
Okay, very good. So tell me, what is a puree?
A puree is a food, usually vegetable, fruit, or legumes.
Very good. And last but not least, tell me, the personal protective equipment that we need to execute this task effectively?
Okay, so the protective gears are chef jacket, chef pants, chef hat, and non-skate shoes.
Very good, well done.
Thank you so much, teachers, for participating in our Skills Proficiency workshop. Skills are very important for the continued development of our youth and for people in general. We know that we live in a society where artisans and skilled people are critical for the building up of our environment and for the sustenance of various facilities. Now, we ask you please to complete the survey. Don't log out without completing that survey. It's important for us to hear from you how we will be able to serve you better next year. We continue to thank you for serving the nation's children and for your continued support of City and Guilds. See you in 2023.